maintaining, and protecting the Second Amendment, welcome back to Elfster's Rifles and Reloading. And boy, oh boy, do I have a decapping die treat for you guys. Now, some of the widely known and used decapping dies out there, especially that I've used in the past, is the Lee decapping die. And I know a lot of other guys that reload use the Mighty Armory decapping die, both two great options. But let me show you another one from FW Arms, the Auto Center Decapper. Now, before I could show you this video review on the Lyman Cyclone brass dryer, let me show you this. Let's get this going. Now, if you watched my videos before, especially my start to finish how-to reloading video series, I'm sure you've seen this, and that's the Lee decapping die. And I still recommend getting this, especially if you're new, for the budget-minded. You know, you can usually get this for around $13-20 bucks. And for someone that's just starting out, in my opinion, it's still a good option. Now, although this is a great option for the budget-minded, there are some downfalls to it that I have found using it over the years. And over a period of time, I found it to be somewhat annoying. And, you know, a couple things would be getting this sleeve set up just right, the tension just right so that the decapping pin doesn't slide in and out, but it's not too tight that where the pin, if it does get a malfunction, that it breaks clean off. And I would say over the years of using this Lee decapping die, I probably busted this pin maybe 3 or 4 times, but I tell you, on this last time, I went on the hunt for an upgrade. Now this FW Arms Auto Center Decapper, I'm telling you, this thing is a serious piece of metal. You can tell how much bigger this thing is. It is a serious chunk of metal. Now, I know some of you are probably asking the question, why is this thing so darn big compared to these two? Well, the reason why is in its name, and that's the fact that it auto centers on the case mouth opening. And in my opinion, that is a huge feature. And the reason for its length, let me zoom in here, is this sleeve, this spring tension sleeve. And what it does, let me try and zoom on the mouth of this die, is, say for pure example, like this Hornady lock and load, if this piece of brass in that shell plate is canted off ever so slightly, it will hit the mouth opening of this auto center die and will recenter it so it can slide down the body of the die itself. And this spring tension sleeve slides clean down the body, and that is the reason why it is so long. Now let me show you the heat-treated steel alloy decapping pin in this thing. And no joke, this thing is heavy duty. And even FW Arms, they got a video on their website. You almost got to check it out. Matter of fact, I think I'll show it right here. They have a video of this thing not only going through Bourdain primers, but even through the side of a piece of brass as if it fell down on the shell plate. It is pretty amazing. Now the Decapper comes with 1 pin installed and also 2 extra, but you can also buy 5 extra pins if needed, and I believe they're roughly about 23 bucks. Now the FW Arms Decapper will decap up to 338 Lapua. Now keep in mind with some Lapua brass that they do have smaller flash holes, and the current pinheads will not work for that. But I did call FW Arms and they did tell me that they are coming out with a special 5-pack set of 0.054 inch pinheads for that specific purpose. And they sell for the same price as the standard set, roughly $23. Now obviously this die can be used on all presses, single stage, progressive, you name it. But where this die is really going to shine is most likely with your progressive presses. Something like this Hornady lock and load press, or especially like an Autobot Dillon 1050. And the reason why I say that, as you know, you're flying through and you're decapping your brass, especially on a Hornady lock and load or an Autobot 1050, and the case mouth openings are swaying back and forth, and as it's going through that progressive press and it's going up, and it needs to center just right on that pinhead, and if it doesn't, more times than not, it's gonna snap off. And that's where this thing really shines. With this spring tension sleeve, it auto centers that case mouth opening, so you have, you know, less neck damage and less machine downtime due to pin failure. It's really important. And it really is easy to set this up. Now, number one, what you want to do is remove the guide rod from the die body itself. Now, I have a Hornady lock and load, and they use these bushings. So let's get this on. Now, depending on your press, as in this example, the Hornady lock and load press, I'm going to want to raise the ram all the way to the top. Insert my bushing along with the die and screw this down until it touches the shell plate. When it stops, I just need to back this off one turn. And after that, you just lock it down with this gold die nut. And this nut is really nice. They don't skip on this thing at all. Okay, so we're going to lower this ram down to its resting position. And I specifically pulled 25 pieces of 7.62 Lake City brass. And I figured we'd also decap 25 pieces of 5.56 Lake City brass for one good reason. And these bad boys, they have a good solid crimp on the primer. And they're pretty difficult to pop out. And I think it'd be a really good test with this FW Arms Auto Center Decapper. Now just making sure that the primer is spent. I'm going to put it in our shell plate here and raise the ram up into the die. And then we're going to get our guide rod with the decapping pin and insert it into the die body. And we're just going to screw this guide rod with the pinhead all the way down till it touches the primer. And that's where it stops right there. Now with a 7/16 Allen wrench, we're just going to insert it at the top of the guide rod, and we're going to screw this until that primer pops out. And you're going to hear it hit my plastic tray down here. And when that primer pops out, we're going to give it an extra turn. And that's what you just heard, the primer popping out. At that point, all we're going to do is give it one extra turn. Then just lock down this top nut. It really is that easy. So let me fly through the remaining 24 pieces of the 7.62 Lake City brass that has a good solid crimp on it. And let's see how fast we can fly. Alright, so let me swap this shell plate out for the 5.56. Okay, so let's quick crunch out 25 pieces of this 5.56 Lake City brass. Without changing anything on the die, just get a quick roll right through 25 pieces of this here. "25 pieces, just like that. Really is that easy." Well, I hope you enjoyed this quick little display of the FW Arms Auto Center Decapper. And so far, it's been a real treat. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you in the next video.